Today we are going to look at the Amazon replacement battery for a DC996 DeWalt 18 volt. This is the older style nickel cadmium battery, but new. It was around $110 at Home Depot versus around $20 on Amazon for this replacement. Being that the impact wrench is going on about 8 or 9 years old, I wanted to see if it was something a battery would fix. Now, I've taken the impact apart, didn't see anything wrong with it, had grease, I cleaned out the inside just a little bit, put it back together, and what I've noticed is that the voltage on the original batteries were a little bit lower than they should be, and so that's why we are trying this guy out. Now, first thing you'll notice is when you get it in is that it's pretty light. So even though this is a 3.6 amp hour replacement for the DC996 compared to our 2 amp hour DeWalt, the DeWalt unit is going to be or feel a little bit more substantial, feel a little bit more significant. When we put this on the scale, notice that the DeWalt's right at 2 pounds, 1.3 ounces, compared to our Amazon replacement at 1 pound, 10 ounces. So you can definitely feel the difference. But if this 3.6 amp hour battery works just as well, we may enjoy the less weight. So one thing that we did is I wanted to test the voltage coming off of these batteries freshly charged. This one has been giving me a little trouble. It says hot, cold, pack delay right now. That's what that blinking light is telling us. However, it's been on the charger for a while, and it was showing fully charged right before the video started. So what we're going to do is just take a simple voltmeter and check the charges. These have all been fully charged as well. They've just come off the DeWalt charger. Okay, so first one we'll check is the DeWalt battery labeled 1, and this one has been putting out the least amount of voltage. So even after being on the charger for a while, showing 13.15 volts. I tested this one just a second ago, but we'll double check. This is reading right at 17.12 volts. A little bit less right now, 16.78, so it is losing a little bit. Now, these are 18 volt batteries, so they should actually have a little bit more than 18 volts charged right now, since they haven't been used at all. And then this is our Amazon replacement, and I'm honestly having trouble getting the voltmeter to read this, and so what I've been doing, I get it to flash 19.5, 19.9, maybe one of you can tell me in the comments why this is happening. I'm definitely not any sort of electrician, but I'm getting it to flash in the 19 volt range, which makes sense for an 18 volt battery when it's fully charged. So let's try these out. So this is our first DeWalt original battery with 13.15 volts. Snaps right in, but for a wrench that's supposed to put out 155 pound-feet of torque, you can notice a difference when we put in the battery from DeWalt that's holding charge a little better. So very noticeable. And then we'll hook up our Amazon special. Sounds even faster. Now, one thing with the Amazon special that I noticed right away is a little bit of a tighter fit in the gun, in the wrench. And it's also a pretty tight fit when you're seating it in the charger. The good news is it works fine, and I'd rather it be a little tight than too loose. So I know that wasn't super scientific, so we're going to take this outside and see if we can notice a difference between the older DeWalt battery that has a little bit less voltage and our brand new Amazon special. So let's take a trip. We're going to do a very non-technical test right here, and we'll be using the spare on the back of my Jeep
I'm going to torque these down to about 65 pound-feet. For our first test, and then we'll get to 95 pound-feet, which is what this vehicle's lugs call for on our second test. And I don't have much room to torque it down here. All right. First up is going to be our DeWalt battery that is definitely bad. That only charged up to about, or only has about 13 volts. Yeah, 13.15 volts. So remember, these are torqued to 65 pound-feet. Let's see if this can get these off. All right. We knew this guy wasn't up to snuff, but I'm going to go ahead and just recycle this one, call it a day. I'm going to just make sure they are still torqued, which they should be. Yeah, they didn't even move. All right. Going to switch to our DeWalt battery. That was in a 17 volt range when fully charged, which is still undercharged. And these are still torqued to 65 pound-feet, just to see if we can break these loose, which we should. Yeah, and all right, broke these loose pretty easily. There goes my LED light. All right, I'm going to tighten these up to 65 pound-feet each, just so we can test all three. We'll look at the Amazon battery, and I'd have to assume she'll be able to take these off with ease as well. And as expected, broke all of them at 65 pound-feet. I am going to go up to 95 pound-feet. The reason why is that's what I typically tighten down my lugs to, not on the spare, but on my actual wheel. And if this new battery can break those 95 pound-feet lug nuts, then it'll be able to handle most of what I'm going to throw at it. Don't have much room with this tire. All right, but it looks like those are all set at 95 pound-feet. Let's see if our DeWalt battery that was tested at around 17 volts can pop these loose. Looks like it can. All right, so here's our 3.6 amp hour Amazon at 95 pound-feet lugs. Looks like that took care of it. All right, I don't think these lugs like that 110 pound-feet too much. Here's our Amazon special at 110 pound-feet. So our Amazon broke all of these with these at 110 pound-feet. Let's torque them back to 110 and try our DeWalt. All right, so we're gonna try our DeWalt that was maxing out around 17 volts. This is 110 pound-feet. Right now, let's see if we can break that. So our DeWalt is still breaking loose 110 pound-feet, and that's good. I'm gonna go ahead and stop there. I'm gonna save this one, recycle the other battery. This will be a good backup, but the $20 Amazon special definitely did its job. So this is a good purchase. I am not going to throw this or recycle the actual impact. I'll be able to still use it. Let's go see how much charge these batteries still have left, since they were all used equally. Okay, so our 8-year-old DC820 was able to break free 110 pound-feet of torque, and since that's all I really need it for, that's good enough for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, if you're not doing anything too heavy duty, that this purchase is definitely worth it. The Amazon replacement battery, especially if you are just doing light work around the house. Since these older style batteries and the new Amazon replacement do not have a battery charge level, we are going to check the voltage after we've used them, and we'll start off with the DeWalt that was only holding 13.15 volts to begin with, so I'm not expecting much out of this guy right now. Almost 13, 12.96. This DeWalt is the one that we are keeping, the one that still broke free the 110 pound-feet. It was registering a max of 17.12. And down a little bit, 16.92, so right under 17 volts, not too bad. And last but not least, we are going to try and get a reading on this one that has been notoriously tough to get a reading. So I saw it jump to 19.43, and once again, if anybody knows, that one's at 19.9. So if anybody knows what I'm doing to not be able to get this guy to read, please let me know in the comments. But once again, it looks like this was a good value, especially for 22 bucks. We'll see how this holds up long term, but otherwise I will put a link in the bottom for this replacement nickel cadmium DC996. Looks like it's a good deal so far.